as a gay man. There's a LGBT, protest coming up in reference to Trump's potential actions against the gay community.
Okay. So you said that as a gay man, it was important to you to do it. You wanted to call attention to LGBT issues. I'm not aware that Trump is on a different side from you on any of those issues. What do you mean exactly?
No, there's been some potential legislation out there in reference to some federal executive orders he wants to place. And these past protests that have been...
So what specifically do you mean? What are you worried about, as you said, as a gay man? What is Trump going to do to you as a gay man?
Well, that was in reference to the upcoming June LA, LGBT march.
I want to bring you back to the point that I asked about a couple of times. So Trump, I think, released a letter today saying that all the protections for gay workers in place, he's going to keep, late January, I guess, he's going to keep in place. So I often people say, I'm worried as a gay man about Trump, but what specifically does that mean? What are you worried about? What executive orders has he said he's going to put through that are going to hurt you as a gay man?
Mike Pence's thoughts are very well known in regards to the LGBT community, and there was an initial report where Trump...
Look, you threw this out there, so I think it's fair for me to press you.
Honestly, I feel like Trump isn't even the president either, and it's very well known in reference to, if you look at his cabinet, Trump's throwing a potential re-election. No, because he is on that platform to speak for said presidency.
You just said, and I'm trying to be fair with you, you just said that you don't think, you're protesting Trump because you're afraid of what he's going to do, particularly, as you said, as a gay man. I asked you, what is he going to do to you as a gay man? Well, nothing really, but Mike Pence will, because Trump's not the real president.
My being gay is not the point of this. It was
in
reference to an upcoming protest. Yes, I did. I did. And if I was a woman, I'd mention how I was at, the women's protest.
But you're not a woman, so let's get back to the point that you made. What are you talking about? Because there are gay people watching and they're thinking, holy smokes, what's Trump going to do to me? What's Trump going to do to you as a gay man? I mean, that's an honest question. What's the answer?
It's well known that there was potential legislation out there. There was a leaked report.
But he doesn't pass legislation.
And it was covered by the media.
Not the Congress. And he put a letter out disputing.
Executive order, Tucker.
But he said, I'm not going to
Do you want to talk about the actual Not My President's Day protest, or are we just going to go off on a tangent on...
It's not a tangent, Shane. You brought it up.
I made an off-the-cuff remark about my being a gay man.
Okay. So I was reading your manifesto tonight, and you said this: the Trump regime is a fascist regime, no insults or exaggeration, that's what it is. For the future of humanity and the planet, we the people must drive this regime out. So I'm assuming you're not a moderate necessarily, but the obvious question arises, which is, if it's a fascist regime, how are you on this show?
Look, Donald, we're facing an emergency. Humanity is facing an emergency. A fascist regime has seized the reins of power in the most powerful, actually the sole superpower in the world. Trump and Pence are operating out of Hitler's playbook, only they have nuclear weapons. And what RefuseFascism.org is saying to the world is that while it's beautiful, it's righteous that millions of people have stood up in protest and continue to do so. And by the way, since I know he sometimes watches, President Trump, if you're watching, way more people have protested than were at your Nazi inauguration. But while this is beautiful, this resistance needs to grow, and people need to confront that this is a fascist regime that could drop the hammer and close down. It's working aggressively to close down the space for people to stand up and resist. And so in the name of humanity, 7 billion on this planet, we need to pour into the streets and say no. We refuse to accept a fascist America. We refuse to accept this for the world, and we must drive them out. We need to stay in the streets.
I mean, so many questions come to mind, but the obvious one is this. I always thought that the day somebody got up, a Republican, and said, you know what, we got to focus on jobs, no more pointless wars in the Middle East, and by the way, I'm a secular guy, they would say, it's kind of my kind of Republican. A
man who campaigned and said, I long for the days when protesters were dragged out on stretchers, who offered to pay the bills of people who assaulted protesters at his rally. Donald Trump is a fascist. That's out of Hitler's playbook. This is a danger to humanity. And yes, it's in its early stages, but people need to rise up and stop it before it is too late. People better wake up, because he is more dangerous than Hitler ever could have been. I'm calling for mass political protest and resistance, building on what's happened and staying in the streets in the name of humanity. Before the man starts, he asked 3 times, if I have nukes, why can't I use them? This is the mass incineration of human beings on an industrial scale.
I can see you're spun up here.
Humanity.
But let's just be more specific, because I want to take you seriously. I assume you're being serious, hard as it is to believe, when you use rhetoric like he's Hitler, he's going to incinerate the world.
No, I said nuclear weapons are the mass incineration of human beings on an industrial scale.
Oh, sure. You think he could destroy the world?
Nukes are no big deal for you. I know you like to carry water for the liar-in-chief. I know you like to justify and rationalize the sexual predator-in-chief. But I don't think this is a joke. This is for humanity, and he is dangerous.
But what are you going to do about it, Sunsara? That's my question. Other than like jump around in the street with a sign in your hand, okay, no, and write your little manifestos.
RefuseFascism.org has a manifesto, as you said. RefuseFascism.org. We say we have 4 things people should do. They should manifest the no. They should protest every outrage and crime. But we have to have a single unifying objective. And the people who are waking up in this country who are horrified by this man with his finger on the nuclear weapon, we need to recognize that he has to be driven from office through mass political resistance before it is too late. Fascism advances through stages. Shock, awe, violence, and then periods of normalization.
Fascism with political resistance, but whatever, you may not know
actually,
that.
It would have taken millions and millions to rise up to stop Hitler. It absolutely would have.
But what do you
and it's what people should have done.
Okay,
and it is shameful. It is shameful for you to dismiss this.
But hold on, I know it's shameful, but let me ask you this.
It's funny to you.
Question. So the
no, because I know you love to carry water for this criminal, this war criminal wannabe in chief.
Right.
He's itching.
But hold on.
You find that as petty matter?
There were 62...
Tucker, you find that petty? You find that a petty concern that he wants to...
I know that you're very petty, but I'm trying to ask you a real question.
Nuclear weapons are as serious as you can be.
I just want to ask you... Okay, well, let me ask you one last question, okay? 62 million people voted for Trump, and disproportionately, they were people at the lower end of the income scale. They were actually. They were middle class and below, mostly. Opposed to Trump were, I don't know, the hedge fund managers and privileged people like you. Did you ever think to yourself, like, why is the middle class...
He lost the popular vote. He lost the popular vote, and no election, fair or fraudulent, no election, fair or fraudulent, can justify ripping up the rule of law, undermining the courts, threatening and shutting down the press.
You're saying that you should throw a duly elected president out of office.
No, I'm saying people should resist.
Yes,
that's what he means when he says so-called judge. That's what he means when he fires an attorney general who disagrees with his laws.
What I want to do is get to how you think.
What you want to do is normalize fascism. What you want to do is try to caricature and dismiss people who are telling the truth.
For me. Thanks, though.